My name is Megan McCullough, and the piece that I'm going to be reading came about at a memoir writing workshop for a prompt that called for describing a place where you feel at peace. I immediately thought of standing in the middle of my building complex at night where you can see the sky. During my weekly pair meetings with my mentor, Heather, I morphed this short description into a fiction piece, and it's called Living in the Clouds. I walked along Queens Boulevard and got a call from Neil on my cell. "Hey Alicia, you done at the library yet?" A goofy grin swept over my face. "Yeah, I'm walking home now, back to my lame apartment. I'm by the post office." After being out of doors for so long, surrounded by Christmas lights, I hated returning to my cramped apartment where I shared a room with my teenage brother and little 2-year-old sister who never stopped shrieking. I rolled my eyes at the thought and let out a frustrated sigh. I heard his muffled voice on the phone as he spoke to James and Carla in the background, asking them where the post office was. He wasn't from Forest Hills, he lived in Maspeth. "We're nearby," he said excitedly, his voice full force now as he spoke directly into the phone. "Wait up, we'll be there soon and we can walk with you." "Okay, cool, I'm freezing though, so make it quick," I said playfully. The beginnings of winter were showing themselves. Leaves were falling off of their branches and I could see my breath form clouds in front of my face. The air was crisp in my throat and the denim jacket I wore was not enough to ward off the biting nighttime colds. On the other end, Neil laughed. His laugh came from deep within and turned into a chuckle. "Don't worry, we will. See you soon." Within minutes of our phone conversation, I saw them approaching, hands stuffed in their pockets and shoulders square, shivering from the cold. Neil hugged me hello, and together the four of us continued walking down the boulevard. Neil talked about his mixed martial arts classes. James talked about how he still hadn't studied for tomorrow's bio test, and Carla giggled in the background. I stared at Neil, hanging on every word he said. We soon reached my building complex, 4 20-story buildings that formed a circle. "Okay, this is where I live," I mumbled. Neil looked up. "Holy crap, you live there?" "Yep," I said, pointing up. "That's my window on the 20th floor." "You live in the clouds," James said. I laughed incredulously and said, "Not quite." The corner of my mouth lifted into a half smile and I crinkled my nose. I listened to their exclamations and reactions to my apartment building in amusement, not understanding. I knew that I lived on the 20th floor, but had never really thought of it as high up. I'd lived there my entire life and was accustomed to seeing birds flying over the tops of buildings rather than the ground and the houses across the street when I looked out of the window. It was normal, and ever looking out and seeing anything else would have been wrong and out of place. I remembered when Neil had taken me by his apartment building and how it appeared low to the ground. Short and squat, there were about 5 floors. He had pointed to the 3rd floor and said that was where he lived. He could climb out of his building through the fire escape in case of an emergency, whereas I would be trapped, stuck in the clouds. Although this thought had crossed my mind before, it had never scared me. Neil interrupted my thoughts by continuing to say, "Wow, I can't even bear looking up there. How can you live so far up?" He shook his head and grinned. "That's crazy." The clouds were navy blue and the black night sky was dotted with white stars as we looked up at my building. I felt that my apartment suddenly had a new majesty to it and that it was incredible. My home was magic. I lived in the clouds.